Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Finance Village, where we have keeping it real conversations about bold ideas, tough topics, practical insights that will greatly affect us as financial professionals and our clients in the next era of finance that we're approaching, and hopefully a transformational one. In this episode, we're going to sit down with Philip Setter, a licensed insurance advisor and the founder of Affinity Life, to explore what it takes to thrive in a commission driven industry while staying client first and ethically grounded.
Mm.
We're going to explore the traps and the tensions and the tools that define the real heart of financial advice. And Philip is a licensed insurance advisor and entrepreneur with a sharp eye for what's broken in the advisory world, particularly in the insurance side, and a great plan to fix it and be a part of that defining kind of what it should look like. As founder of Affinity Life, Philip built one of Canada's kind of most accessible online insurance platforms at this point, called, I forget again, sorry,
Stream.
Policy Stream, aiming to bridge the gap between technology, transparency, letting people get in. It's scary to get in front of advisor. And in this episode, Philip's going to help us unpack what it means to give advice with both competence and conscience. So give us a little introduction of yourself for anything that I missed. I know that you're an avid mountaineer, climber type, so you're probably very, very, very strong. Being able to pull your own body weight up must be nice. And yeah, just give us a little bit of kind of insight as to how you got into the industry.
Sure, yeah. First off, yeah, thanks so much for that intro. I love all the intros that you get to these different shows and podcasts and videos and things. It always makes you feel so good. You're like, oh wow, that's so nice of them to say. So, yeah, I appreciate everything you said. It's good to finally be on the show. I know we've had conflict back and forth to try and schedule something. There's been scheduling conflict, and we finally got it down today. So happy for that. Yeah, a little bit about myself. So I started in the industry in 2014. So we're going on 10, 11 years now. I started way back with combined insurance, and I don't know if you're familiar with combined insurance. They're like a captive carrier. They're big in the AD&D hospitalization. Break an arm, get a couple $1,000, go to the hospital. Get a couple
Captive is a
thousand
good place to
bucks.
start, though. Much better than MLM.
Captive is a good place to start, and I mean, I could talk about that for a long time. At the time, I was a entrepreneur. I was an electrician before that, and I was trying to get out of construction and get out of electrical. And honestly, Sheldon, you could have came to me with anything. You could have came to me and said like, "Hey, man, I have this great idea. We're gonna have rocks. We're gonna paint them, and we're gonna sell painted rocks. We're gonna go farmer market to far." And I would have been, Sheldon, that's a great idea. I'm on board,
And
100%. Like you could have came to me with anything, and like I was ripe. I was hungry. I was young, and I was just trying to get into something new. So at the time, Combined Insurance was doing a big marketing push. They just hired a guy from Primerica, and he was getting tons of people in. So I started with them, and what I found was, yeah, I love the insurance industry. Like I really enjoyed the complexities of the industry. I enjoyed how many avenues you could go. Family market, business market, life, CI, DI, permanent, all these different things, and investments and banking and taxes, and the complexity of it really interests me, and I enjoyed that part of it. It was about a year and a half that I was with Combined, and I mean they're a fine company. The thing that I like about Combined is, I mean, yeah, they're a sales company, right? Like they are hardcore, old school, door knocking. There's only two reasons that you wouldn't buy today. Yeah, like they are objection handling company. However, they're only selling like knick-knack hospital policies for like $40, $50. So the financial harm that you can do to consumers as a new agent is like relatively low. Like you're not selling big whole life or UL policies that are going to fundamentally change a client's retirement. You're selling like, yeah, I signed up for this policy. It was $50 a month. I had it for a couple of years. I cancel it, whatever, right? So I enjoyed that part of it. I left them after about a year and a half, went to become an independent, which I still am to this day, with an MGA. And I was like anyone else, trying to get my foot in the door, trying to figure out what direction I was going to go. Family market sales. Maybe I'll pitch this. Maybe I'll do, financial whatever it was. I was trying to find my way, and I heard a seminar from Desjardins about their split CI policy. And at the time, I was still young. I mean, this was like, 10 plus years ago. So I would have been 24, 25. I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. And connecting with clients over, like, yeah, life insurance is important because you have a family. It was difficult for me because I didn't have a family. I was young. they didn't people didn't take me as seriously in that, like, well, you have kids, you should get life insurance. And so that sales direction didn't resonate with me. It's a very important place, but I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. I didn't have people that counted on me financially. But when I heard about insurance used as a tax strategy, all of a sudden that was different for me. Like I could connect with that a lot more. So I dived headfirst into the corporate market, really got nitty gritty with taxation and corporations and life insurance and corporation and strategies. I worked alongside a tax firm in Toronto, and we did seminars all across Canada for rooms full of accountants and business owners. So I really got to rub shoulders with people that were very intelligent, and hopefully maybe some of it rubbed off on me. It's tough to say. We'll see about it. But I did get to learn so much from those people, and I made a good business in the corporate space. I feel like I was able to find a niche there in the business owner market, and that went great until 2020, which, as everyone know, I mean, everyone's business changed in 2020. At that point, COVID happened. All of my marketing was face to face and seminars. It was like networking events, face to face seminars, schmoozing, whining and dying clients. Um, being in front of the room, being in front of them. And when COVID happened, all that stopped. And I viewed it as a blessing. It still is a blessing that I was able to then take a step back and say, like, okay, is this like, do I want to keep doing this? Is this what I want to do for the rest of my career? Is be in front of the room? And I mean, we can talk about this lots, but climbing is one of my biggest passions in life. I like rock climbing, ice climbing, backcountry skiing, alpine climbing. Like if I could, I would just do that all the
Professional league
time.
for that that's gonna pay you well, though.
Yeah, well, no,
Yeah.
it's not really. It's hard to make it as just a dirtbag climber. You really have to be. You got to play the game as well. You got to go on social media and make the things. And I didn't really want to brand those tours, but that's another story. So at the time, I was trying to find something else besides face to face. And how am I going to do that? I'm not sure. And that's when I had the idea for Affinity Life, where then we invested a ton of money into building out a lot of technologies for users to come on, clients in Canada to come on, do a needs analysis, look up prices on their own for term life insurance, get different quotes, and then start the application process on their own. They submit it, they get it to me. I can review it quickly, and I can now build out more of a business that doesn't require me there all the time. I get to focus on the marketing and driving the business. But if I leave, business still happens. People still come to my website. They still look up prices and get quotes and have emails sent, and they watch videos that I've created. Business still happens without me being 100% present there, which in the business owner market, if I wasn't in front of the room, I didn't make money. Whereas now with Affinity Life, now I can actually build something that is kind of, working in
And
perpetuity.
is that also still working for business clients, or is that really just more effective on the family market?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say like 96% family market. The way that I built Affinity Life, so I did completely switch markets. Like I went completely from the corporate market into the family market, which was a big shift. But yeah, I mean, with the family market, kids, husband, wife, mortgage, debt, term life
More
insurance is a
beautiful
good
thing, but you are
option for
giving
them.
up that big fancy commission of that corporate world. It's like if you told a financial advisor to switch from going from
Yeah.
doctors to families, it would feel like a blasphemous, as in regards to being lucrative.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the nice thing is like I still do a few business cases on the side. Just I mean, the quantity is I might do, one a year, maybe two, like I'll do a 50,000, 60,000 kind of annual premium, something like that. Nothing like maybe one a year, right? Like, a good year would be two a year. So you still can have that, side business owner market focus. You can still do that, but then the core fundamental of my business, Affinity Life, was the family market and the term life insurance sales through the automated website.
Yeah, and as Jason Pereira will always beat into our heads, you have to have a niche. It doesn't mean you can't take other segments of business when they come
Yeah,
upon you and you can offer good value, but we got to focus in on the niche. So let's delve a little bit
yeah,
into a few different things you touched on there. First of all, that I'll focus in on two components for now. One is that in insurance, and I did sell insurance when I was at the big bank as a mortgage advisor. I was number one in the country for creditor insurance at one point, but I promise I sold it in a way that would make any insurance advisor very, very proud about, if I was dealing with their mom. It was my
Yep.
business has always been based on trust. I don't talk to clients all about the rates and the payments and all this stuff. We focus on the trust and the rapport, get to understand, make sure that there's a feeling of trust there, and then try to give the insights that they need. Nobody can understand the variables in a client's life more than them. So we can educate them to a point, but there's all these other variables that they don't even divulge to us that we can never understand. So life insurance does need to be sold because people aren't there running out to beg for life insurance or critical illness or these things. I wish they
Yeah.
were. Mortgages are easy. They're chasing, they're begging you for an approval. It's insurance is a whole different story, even just to
Totally.
get them to get the information. And the second part is, which I feel is very important. I've been talking about it in several facets for a while, and have created what looks like a great solution on the insurance side for it. For a million different reasons, whether it's people think that they're busy. I always tell clients it's only going to take 5 minutes on the phone. I'm totally full of poop, but I'm removing that psychological block of, their time overwhelm. They're very busy, and it's scary to sit in front of a financial advisor. They may feel like they're going to be sold something. They may feel like they don't have enough assets and they're not worthy to be in. There's all this complicated psychology. So being able to have that little thing that they can play with and get some exposure to, get some insight, see what the cost looks like, get a little bit of information, especially when you add in those videos. So now they're getting a chance to see you. They're getting it. You're building trust and warmth when you have video. It's the same as an email signature. If you have an email signature with a picture with a smile and a nice, beautiful signature, as opposed to just a cold name, position, and company, it's a completely different feeling for your clients and the level of comfort when you're having those exchanges. So talk about how it needs to be sold and some of those kind of how you came to learn that I need to build this. Obviously, we all want to make our businesses more efficient. We want it to be working when we're not, but really you're giving people accessibility in my mind because now I don't have to book a block of my time with a scary advisor to sell me stuff.
Yep. And go. Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Yeah. Yeah. You touched on a lot of things there. Um, yeah. I mean, I could talk on this for hours, but I definitely have some
It
opinions
does
on
need
it.
to
So
be
when I,
sold. Start there. So it needs to be
yeah,
sold, and people don't. There's a lot of complicated psychology in getting in front of a person as opposed to, you know,
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and maybe I'll share a little story here. So when I first built Affinity Life, I started investing a bunch in the technology. Like, okay, how do we integrate with the CompuSoft API, and how do we pull quotes, and how do we do this needs analysis, and how do we integrate all these things for the application? And I assumed once I had built this website that I would put this website live, and people would just flood into it, and I would just start making like $100,000 the first month, and oh my god, I can buy life insurance online. Like I don't have to talk to someone. Yeah, like you take my money. Like absolutely. I mean that can't be further from the truth. That's absolutely not the case, and that's when I learned a hard lesson that the saying, if you build it, they will come. No, they won't. If you build it and market the shit out of it, they'll come. Right?
maybe.
So maybe, yeah, exactly. So at that point, yeah, that's when I started looking at what I wanted to do for marketing. And again, I went back to that. Well, how can I automate a lot of these things and build? Again, I came from a being in front of the room background, so I'm in front of the room, I'm making money. I'm not in front of the room, I'm not making money. So I started to look at, well, what ways can I leverage my time and my marketing efforts so they will continue to drive traffic and leads and clients into the future without me being there. And I settled on video content marketing. So for me, YouTube has been one of the biggest drivers of business for Affinity Life, and for Policy Stream, we can talk about that later. That's the big plan for Policy Stream, is again a YouTube channel. So the nice thing about video content marketing, just like you said, is you get to build a lot of that trust and answer a lot of those questions and create a relationship with those clients without you being there. Right. I mean, you made the video once. I made videos in 2021, at 2022, 2023, 24 that still continue to drive views to this day. And so I think, yeah, it's like if you have some type of hybrid approach where you still have the advisor that the client is getting to know and trust and watch and relate to and understand. And it's like everyone connects with people differently. Some people might see me and like hate the way I look. They might hate my mustache and I have tattoos, and
I
I
don't
might swear
trust
every
people with
once in a while.
mustaches.
And I don't trust. Yeah, exactly. They're like
I
Mario.
do.
They're
I grew up
plumbers.
with one,
Yeah.
but
Oh, you
Well, my
you you
father had
do
one, but
trust them.
they might think that.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think like um having this hybrid model where people can get okay, this is the advisor. I under okay, Sheldon does this, he has that. I can start to relate to him. I trust him. Some of the things he's saying really resonate with me, and then that can start the conversation or whatever it is. Then they can automate some of the okay, now I can play around with your website, see some numbers, see some quotes, get familiar with how your process works, and then you have the conversation with them.
Yeah, and video content, I mean, there's so many aspects to it. One, there's a lot of influencers out there with no credentials just spewing out stuff. There's a lot of cult-like, different, like, little salespeople on there spewing out a bunch of stuff. So not only are you doing yourself a great service, you're removing education burden, which is a big part for me that I'm trying to construct right now. There's things I have to repeat to clients about insured, insurable, uninsured mortgages and the difference between collateral and standard that it can definitely be put in a video and get all my time back. So there's the offload of the education bird, that there's the warming up, but there's also the good deed of just having good, reliable content out there, if that's what you're creating, to compete with some of the noise that is, I mean, and we won't go down too far into this. We won't go down this rabbit hole, but like algorithms are a problem. You click one infinite banking video or one MLM video and you're down. The algorithm is
You're
there. It's
down the
locked
rabbit
in and then
hole.
it just keeps taking you and taking you. I'm actually going to create a whole new YouTube just to delete my old algorithm and create a new one to start from scratch and try to be more intentional about what I want
Yep.
my algorithm to show. But there's a
Totally.
lot of benefits. So how do you transition from going from that kind of you've got the client, they fiddle around in your thing. At what point do you engage and what does that look like?
Yeah. Okay. Good question. I had
Tell
something
me
to
how you
say.
slap the heart into it. Tell me what is
Yeah.
your how do you make them feel it? On the first 5 minutes of a call with a mortgage client, my goal
Yep.
is to make them feel, if not at least say, and they will say often, what a refreshing phone call and a different experience. I want to
Mm,
tell them,
mm.
I'm only gonna give you the same advice I would give my Grammy.
Mhm, mhm. I had something to say earlier with what you said, but I totally forgot what it was. So if it comes back to me, I will put it back there. Yeah, I mean, as far as like the whole like how do you sell it? How do you bring heart into it? For me, in my business, like I'm not doing any direct approaching for people. I'm not messaging people saying, "Hey, you need this product." All of my clients that come in are generated from awareness campaigns. When I say awareness campaigns, I'm saying you're producing content to make people aware of a problem. You're informing them of a problem and a possible solution that you have. So one of the problems, like, oh, you have children, you have a wife, you have a husband, you have people that are financially dependent upon you. And if something were to happen to you, they would be in quite financial harm, financial crisis. So as far as like the bringing heart into it, I would say that yeah, of course. I mean, you can go through the platitude of when I get on the phone call. The first thing that I'm asking is who's their family, right? What do they have children? Are they married? Do they have aging parents? Are they financially responsible for individuals? That's a bit of a platitude. I think every insurance broker would do that. For me, where I think a lot of the heart that you're asking for, the oomph of it, would probably come from the other side of my market, which is the mountain sports enthusiast market. So I would say within Affinity Life, my business is split almost 50-50 between video content marketing. So this is average Canadian families. They're looking for term life insurance. They're traditional underwritten, standard families, mortgage, etc. So on. The other side, I'm heavily, like I said at the beginning, I love rock climbing, I love ice climbing, backcountry skiing, alpine climbing. That demographic, unfortunately, just has a higher mortality rate. Rock climbing is dangerous. Ice climbing is dangerous. Backcountry skiing is dangerous.
That's the whole
Avalanche
thing I was
risk.
thinking about the whole time you started talking about that. I was like, yeah, they're gonna, but it makes
Totally.
sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, and I mean, it's unfortunate, but I mean, I mean, that we could go into the discussion of that. That's a whole different discussion about why people would put themselves in situations where death is a high probability. That's another discussion. But for me personally,
That
where
lose grip and
go ahead.
fall, but for those that don't lose grip and fall, I would say that they're living longer because the strength that you have to have and the fitness that you have
That's
to
a good
do that
metaphor.
type of thing, is pretty incredible. I mean, lifting your own body weight is no joke.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, most people that I shouldn't even say most. I would say almost every single person that dies in some type of mountain sports accident isn't that they lost grip. It's not that they, oh, I can't hold on anymore and I fall.
Because they're
Usually, you
super
have
strong.
or they have ropes and systems like that. Like if they're in a situation where they're not soloing something without a rope. More often than not, most of the accidents that happen are just environmental accidents, rocks falling from above, avalanche risk terrain. Um, things are a little bit. I mean, they're kind of in our control because we get to decide when we put ourselves in those situations. But sometimes you just have to roll the dice and say like, okay, we have a 95% probability that it's going to be fine and nothing's going to happen. However, there's a 5% possibility that we could cause an avalanche and get buried in it. And so you kind of do roll those dice, when you decide to put yourself in those situations. But it's not, it's usually environmental. It's not a matter of like, oh, I can't hang on anymore. I'm gonna fall off. So, but hang on, I
You
want to
got a
answer you.
good
Go ahead.
segment
Go
then,
ahead.
and those people need to be responsive. If you're gonna take that risk, get insured if you got a family.
Well,
That's an easy sale.
exactly. So that's I mean that's the other side of my business. So we're partnered with the Alpine Club of Canada, the Association of Canadian Mountain Guides, TABVAR, Mountain Muskox, search and rescue groups in Canada, and they happily refer our business to all of their members who are engaged in these sports, as well as personally. I mean, I know I have a big community of people that I know that I market to. I have like a separate Instagram channel which is just for climbing, and I post life insurance things on there.
Ever a little son of a biscuit.
I know. Niche marketing. Yeah, with Jason, he'd be so proud of me. But as far as like the heart for that, I mean, I've seen firsthand the devastation that can happen. So I had an accident that happened in 2020, in June of 2020, and I was climbing with my partner and one of my close friends, and I had told him for years. I had said like, dude, you need to get life insurance. He was recently married. He had a 6 month old son. Pardon me. And this is what's crazy. So we were doing a mountain route up in the Columbia ice field, and we were at a section that was not terribly difficult, but sometimes on big mountain terrain, you need to move relatively quickly because you don't want to be in the shooting gallery per se when in the heat of the day is there. So sometimes you might opt to not rope up for a lot of the sections that are easy to moderate climbing. You just kind of want to get through them. And we're in one of those situations where it was moderately difficult, but within our capability. I'll never know what happened. I'll never ever ever know what happened. He was below me. I was above him. I heard something. I turned around and he was falling down the mountain. I have no idea what happened, and I'll never know. I'll never know. It took me probably 2 hours to down climb this terrain to get to him. Of course, he was already passed away at the base of the route. I called search and rescue. They came in with a helicopter. They picked us both up, and then that's how that situation kind of unfolded. However, that's just the initial incident. So now it's been almost 5 years. I see the aftermath both with his son, whose name is Jesse, and his wife and his family, and the devastation. Of course, there's the
Is
emotional
that an
devastation.
insurance or a non-insurance situation?
That was a non-insurance situation, exactly. So, of course, there's the emotional devastation, but there's also the financial devastation as well. And luckily they had a really good support system and they were able to help. But there is a lot of financial constraints that happen, and there's a lot of stress that's added on to an already stressful situation. So for me, when I run into people that are engaged in some type of sport, some type of mountain sport, and they have family and they have people that financially are dependent upon them, it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like,
Okay, that's in the
know
regular. I'm gonna ask you, forgive me for asking this, Philip.
Go ahead.
Have you ever attempted I would, because I think I'm being a good person if I did it. Have
Okay.
you ever gone to climb with someone the day of, ask them if they have life insurance before you start the climb, and be like, "Do you wanna get a policy in place real quick?"
I
I'm not gonna
can't
lie, if
say
it
that
was me
I've
climbing
ever
with
done
you, I'd be
that.
like, yeah, maybe that's a good idea."
I can't say that I've ever done that, but I've had the conversation during, if I climb with the new partner. At this point, I kind of climb with the same people more or less.
During during
I
when you're on the mountain, so now he's
But
gonna be
yeah,
looking and be like, "Why didn't you tell me this at the bottom? How am I gonna sign
yeah,
on the mountain?"
there's been a few. I think I have had like a few funny moments, where maybe we're talking about it, like a new person that I haven't climbed with. We're talking about on the way, and like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I have this company and I do this, and we're partnered with oh, that's really cool. And then we'll have something happen on the mountain, like a rock will come down and like go a foot away from our face, and he'll be. Maybe we should talk about that life insurance when we get off.
Good old God, good wingman, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, good wingman for the sales business. But I mean, it is. Here's the thing: is like, so I've delivered claim. Like, it's already gotten to the point where I've delivered claims in that market. Unfortunately, so it's when you're selling. Life
Bad or good
insurance is
feeling
important.
delivering a claim, though. I mean, obviously,
It's
you
a
don't want to see
it's
them
a
die, but
bad and a good feeling. Yeah, I think it's just a lot more real in the mountain sports market. Like when you sell term life insurance to a family, typically, the major things that would cause someone to pass away before 65 is like some type of health condition that comes up later in life, cancer, heart attack, stroke, something like that, a car accident, some type of freak, airplane crash or something like that. But the chance of it happening, I'm not saying that it's like super low by any means, but it's not. It's like a just in case, and for how affordable it is, it makes sense. But for someone who's engaged in a mountain sports, it's way more real. It's not like every, year something happens. Every month or sooner, we're hearing about some type of major accident where one or several people have passed away in some type of mountain accident. And routinely within the community, we're going to funerals, we're burying, our friends. I've had close friends pass away in the
still
mountain. I've
gangster
had
enough to keep
friends,
going out, eh?
and well, that's another discussion into itself. That's a totally different discussion. We could go down the rabbit hole. But it's all the more real in this market. It hits way closer to home.
So so let's get kind of into a little bit, focused on the on that hard part where, I've had an experience where I had a client that was making 70,000 a year, working 2 jobs, wonderful Filipino lady, did a mortgage for her years ago to find out 3 years later when I was checking in on her, that she was sold a WFG universal life at $1,000 a month. And then to cancel that after she had been in it for like a year, had all these like repercussions and losing money. Now she did end up kind of talking to a proper independent professional and making the adjustment because it made sense. But, apparently, apparently over 40% of advisors will recommend products that they wouldn't personally use. Now that's complicated because sometimes a person's in a situation where it makes a better fit for them otherwise. I mean, you have to
Mhm.
put yourself in their shoes. But as far as, one of the best ways there's a lot of people that don't buy insurance. There's a lot of business partner breakups. There's a lot of roommate issues, a lot of divorce. I would say that, there's the intellectual questions you can ask, or if you're dating somebody, what hobby do we share some same interests, or your clients, you can ask the intellectual things. But, there's a lot of that ongoing training we can get. But what ongoing training do people have as to their character? So when I used to go on dates, second or third date in, I'm kind of getting right into your innards. And thankfully, I've never had any crazy dating relationships. I dated lots of wonderful people that anybody should be happy to marry. I ended up finding a fantastic wife, and I'm in a very happy marriage. But there's a stat out there with advocates that less than 30% of advisors receive ongoing ethics training. Now, you may not need to go to a formal one, but what I'm ultimately trying to say is you want to be able to find a way to ask questions to a human that you're going to have a
Mhm.
meaningful engagement with, certainly with a financial professional, where you can try to figure out, is this somebody first that I really think, because again, there's a, there's a there's a lot of competence out there. Any person can take a lot of training and then formulate that training into a sales script that's very convincing. But is this somebody that I feel like I can trust? Is this somebody where I feel like, me even asking a question, because nobody is born with the inherent and intrinsic awesome character. We have to work on it. We're born, I would say, almost maybe with like the tendency to fall into like, the temptation of doing foolish things and losing sight of keeping in mind what's best for others, not what just best for ourselves. A very hard lesson I've had to learn coming from the village to the big city. So, what kind of questions can we ask somebody to figure out, is this somebody that is doing ongoing work in their lives to be a better person, to make sure, because correct me if I'm wrong,
Mhm.
Philip, but we've got one of three directions we can go. We can go backwards in our character because we're letting the nonsense in the world influence us. we're stagnant, we're just kind of coasting along in a place that we're cozy with, or we're moving forward in a way that we're being intentional. Intention, what better client is there to have than one that's intentional, right? And what better advisor is there to have than somebody is intentional about improving their character? So comment a little bit about the ongoing ethics training, maybe what kind of, conversations you have or that a client could have in that regard.
Mm.
How do they really vet that out? It's a difficult thing, and it's not talked about a lot. We all throw out the integrity thing on our website as financial
Mm.
professionals. Everybody and their mother totes that. But then how do we
Mm.
really communicate it, and how can clients figure out, or how can we proactively divulge that without just making this weird awkward video of like, I'm a great guy.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
read these books.
yeah. God, I
That's
honestly,
a
I don't
tough one.
know.
I'm gonna put you on the
That's a
spot.
tough one. Yeah, I don't know.
But get to
How
it. I'm
can
your
someone?
grandmother. I'm not
Yeah,
Sheldon, the
sure.
podcast host, asking this.
Yeah,
I'm your grandmother saying, I'm gonna go meet with an advisor. How do I know this is a person that I can trust, Philip? I
yeah.
can't
I mean,
use you because I'm in
it's, I mean,
Guatemala,
if you're my
wherever your
grandma,
family's from, and there's, you can't do
yeah,
business here.
yeah. I mean, if you're my grandma, I'd say just don't buy a UL. You should probably be okay. No, I'm just kidding. Um, God, I don't know. How would you find an ethical advice? Every advisor says they're ethical. Every
How do you
advisor says
find
that
what
they're doing
words,
things
what
right.
questions, what engagement can we as professionals or we as clients
Yeah.
get into with that? And your video, I think the video marketing is a big part of it. When you're doing video marketing, they get to see who you are. They get to see your micro expressions. They get to see your tonality. They get to see the words that you use. They get to see if you sound like a slick talking salesman, or if you sound like somebody that really has the sobriety of having those experiences that you've had.
Yeah. Just purely from like this is just like a quick thought, and it's something that I routinely will do in my business, and I'll have conversations. If you come across an advisor, whether that's you personally or a friend that's experienced this, or someone that else that's recommended you to this advisor that's experienced it, if you come across an advisor who has recommended you get a product that he or she makes nothing from, and they lose money, I would say they have a high degree of ethics within their business. And I'll give you an example here so you can kind of get a little bit of, grounding. Routinely, I have on my YouTube channel hundreds of videos of term life versus permanent life, UL versus whole, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What is infinite banking, blah, blah, blah. So I will routinely get people that will reach out and they'll say, hey, Philip, I watched the video. I want to know more. I want to buy a whole life, 5,000 a year, 10,000 a year. I watched all these videos. It looks really cool. I want to get your opinion on it. You seem like you know what you're talking about.
I
And I'll look at
circulate
their
people like that right now that
yeah,
think
yeah,
they want it.
totally. They think they want it, right? And I'll go across their situation. I'll just go, okay, well, tell me about your situation. What do you working? What do you do for work? Okay, cool. What's your finances? How's your registered accounts? Do you have any non-registered accounts? What's your house? Do you have a mortgage? What's your debt? What do you and it's like, oh, you have credit card debt. Okay. Oh, you have, your mortgage is still there. Okay, no worries. No RSPs? Okay, no RSPs. Okay, gotcha. And I'll routinely say, okay, there's no place for this. I'm not going to sell you this product. You need to go and invest in your TFSA or your RSP. And I don't do any investments. And I'm not going to refer you to anyone who does investments. Go and find someone, whether that's through, I always recommend, this is just where I have my investments and I don't know your opinion on it. I use Wealthsimple. I love Wealthsimple. They're super easy, low MER, index funds. I just put it in there. I set it. I forget it. I don't look at it. I don't know what your opinion is on it. That's how I
I think that
invest.
there's a lot of good DIY options, but there
Sure.
comes a point where you want advanced consultation. It's
Yep. Yep. No, that's fair. So I would say that if you're and I tell them this. I say, "Listen, there's no financial incentive for me to turn you away. I am losing money. If you buy a $10,000 policy from me, I'm going to make like $14,000 commission. I should bring you in as a client, right? I like that sounds
and
great.
I
I get
had
a big
and I had a
bonus check
friend
and
of
I could do
mine.
a bunch."
I was that guy that heard about it, thought it sounded really cool, wanted to get it, went to one of my buddies to
Yep.
get it, and he said, "Yeah, I'll give it to you, just don't cancel it within 2 years."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Now, but again, this is, part of the great human condition. A lot of us have good guy syndrome because we're not out murdering people, but there's levels, and the level
Yep.
that you're talking about is the one that we want our clients to experience. to
Yeah.
people. And that's one of my kind of, I try to also tell clients that is if it doesn't make sense for you to do business with me, or even if you never do business with me, I'm still going to be here to quickly answer questions. And it resonates with them when you do
Mhm.
something like what you just said, Philip, when you're willing to tell them I can make $14,000 on this, but it doesn't make sense. They're definitely come back to you for something later. They're definitely come
Yeah.
back to you, or they're sending somebody to you, because that trust is what makes business go round. This is my whole
Mhm.
epicenter of everything I'm doing on the technology side, everything I do on my day-to-day business. It's about the trust focus with partners in your ecosystem that you're working with on holistic and collaborative advice, trust on, building trust with the clients. And, the tech isn't going to, tech is never going to replace kind of ethical judgment of a human. ChatGPT, I've been a power user since day one, paying for it since the day you could pay for it, but it is still very stupid. It's only as useful as the nuance that you give it. And it's really just good for structuring, expediting structuring and
Mhm.
stuff like that. But it's really not going to do anything majestical as far as, ethics or, creativity, stuff like that. So let's talk a little bit about, um, you know, what are the different kinds of things that you'll look at with the client? Let's take that family market. You're talking about the TFSAs and the RSPs and all of these things. But what are some of the additional things that we can ask clients to learn more about them to show a little bit of our heart, concern, or interest? Are you asking about their
Mm.
hobbies? Are you asking about which kid do they like the most?
Yeah, that's a good question, Sheldon. And I'll be honest with you. So I mean, my business, the way that I've set it up is I'm much more of a volume shop. So I don't sell CI, I don't sell DI, I rarely sell permanent life insurance. I don't do investments. Currently, how my brokerage is set up, I am a term life insurance shop. Let's get your family protected. Let's get you covered. I'll answer a few questions. Let's have a phone call.
A lot of
But I mean,
advisors
I
will
would
love you for that. Buy term, invest the rest. I hear it all the time.
exactly. I would say that there's probably about 40% to 45% of clients that come in. I may never speak to them. Like I'll never have a conversation with them. They watch me on YouTube or find something. They go through the process, where they do the application. I email back and forth a little bit, and we submit it. And I never have a conversation with them. So as far as the ones I do have a conversation with, I mean, I'm doing probably 20 to 40 apps per month. I don't have. I shouldn't say I don't have the time, but I built my business to more be, a volume term life insurance shop where I'm not having those, I'm not doing TFSAs, RSPs, investments, DI, CI, any permanent really any of those other products. So the level of am I asking about their hobby and getting really nitty gritty about when's their birthday and who's your favorite child and why do you hate your child with red hair, they do actually have a soul. I'm not getting into that.
But there's
You
still a
know
beauty in what you've
yeah.
created, because in my 20 years in finance and interacting heavily with independent advisors from every shake of life, I always hear that just get some term, invest the rest. Term is probably outside of maybe critical illness, because I'm big on like protecting against those, becoming a liability during while you're alive, because that can get expensive depending on what issue you're dealing with. There's still a beauty in it because people, it's hard. It's so hard to get people just to come and get the information and get anything. And that's why I'm able to have some, like, I'm able to deal with a little bit of the shame of the creditor insurance world I lived in, because I didn't know anything that the bank didn't teach me. I didn't know the creditor insurance was any different from anything else. And I do still believe it's better than nothing. I believe it's
Mhm.
better than nothing. So being able to streamline a process where both the professionals can survive in the industry and the clients can quickly get, not just through the technology, those quotes, but having some of those good videos that got to give the discernment between all the different things, streamlining that process, that's going to get a lot more Canadians protected, the same as willful did with wills, if you will.
Mhm.
Let's get something in place, because there's always lots of time to have a more sophisticated conversation later where we need to delve deeper and get more of the nuance. But dear Lord, let's get something in place. And the best way to do that is not to have to, have a scary conversation with somebody that you think is going to sell you.
Yep, no, 100%. And like, I just want to stipulate, like, that's just how I run my business. I'm not saying this is the right way to run my business. Again, I mean, I'm a lazy insurance broker. I just want to go climbing, so I want to be able to automate as much as I can. And I'm sure lots of business is falling through the cracks. But you nailed it on the head when you said that. Like, I think this is one of the problems that some insurance brokers or insurance advisors will run into is they pile on too much all at once. So, I mean, it's that scary conversation. Like you said, it's like, oh, I want to have a conversation about term life insurance. And then all of a sudden you go in, it's like, okay, well, you need some term right now because you have a family. We're going to do a term 20 or term 30, but you're also going to die someday. So you need a bit of permanent life insurance. And you should get a CI because this might happen to you. And also, we need to supplement your DI because your work doesn't. And all of a sudden it's like, dude, I just came in for like, I want to spend like 20 or $50 to protect my family. And I think that's some of the barriers that clients have to come to advisors and some of the barriers that advisors have to try and layer on some of those policies and important policies with their clients. And I think the way that can be bridged is like start small, get into the door, build that trust with the client. And term life insurance is one of the greatest ways that you can do that. So many people need term life insurance. And once you can start with that, and it's cheap, right? We're
And
not talking
it's hard to
thousands.
give that to someone. It's hard to like I don't know if that's word, miss-sell that. It's hard to like
Exactly.
sell that wrong. Like they
You can't mess it
probably
up that bad. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So if you can start with that, start with a term product. Get your foot in the door. Then if you are a broker that deals with additional planning and investments and DI and CI and all these other things, then you can start to layer on these additional products and say, "Hey, it's so great we got this covered off. Let's have another meeting. Let me talk to you about why you probably should look at a CI policy." Great. But like layering that in, not just all upfront. I mean, I see some presentations, that the clients will send me and they'll say, oh, this is what they're, and it's like $600 a month in insurance. And we have term with permanent and a CI. And I'm just like, what did you come for? A term product, $30, $50? And this is what you're left with, 600. You can't do it all at once. You need to build the trust with that client and layer it in and learn more about their family and their hobbies and what they like to do, et cetera, et cetera. And then you can start to gather what their values are and determine what the best product would be to protect that.
That's a really interesting point. So you can get that foot in the door, build that trust over time. And I know that there's lots of advisors out there that think they're doing the most majestical KYC in a 1 hour and they know everything about the person. But what can you really know and understand about a person, and even that they're willing to truly divulge at that point? So getting something going, which usually is the simplest foot in the door with something affordable, something that you can't really screw up for them, it's a beautiful starting point. And then at some point, you're building that book of business. Now, do you have currently, or do you have in the future, are you going to put, are you going to be implementing things in Policy Stream where now let's say I've been using Policy Stream for 2 years. I've got tons of people in my database. Now I want to give them those friendly reminders of like, just, again, in the same way where I'm not calling them, be like, hey, let's, blah, 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 and it's a sales thing. It's now just a little awareness campaign, if you will, of
Uh-huh.
here's some additional things you could do at some point. Do you have stuff like that kind of in there or on the roadmap where I'll be able to work that book of business?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So first, maybe I should briefly explain. I don't think we've talked about Policy Stream really at all in this podcast. So maybe
Okay, do it.
I'll briefly explain what Policy Stream is. So we
Or-
just
And give
launched.
me the financial advisor explanation, and then I want you to
Yep.
give me the client explanation, please.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, the client, I mean, for all, okay, yeah, I gotcha. So the advisor presentation would be, I took everything that was working for Affinity Life. So the website with the needs analysis, the quoting with the plans, the application, all the compliance documents, and then on the back end, all of my email nurture campaigns, all of the automations, the pipelines, the calendar requests, everything that drives business forward while you're not there. I took all of that and then built that into a separate company that any advisor now in Canada and soon the United States can essentially get live within 24 to 48 hours and have a replicated version of that on their website. And it's not the exact same thing. I just took things that worked for me in my brokerage. We built a completely different and new architecture that hosts this new platform. So it's essentially, again, a white label life insurance, right now, term life insurance platform. People can go onto your website. It's all branded to you, your logo, your color schemes, everything looks like your website. They can look up quotes, do a needs analysis, do the application online, do all your compliance documents, everything of that. When you're on board, we take all your information and we pre-populate all the compliance documents. So at the end of the day, you get submitted applications with all the information as well as the compliance documents. Then you go to the carrier, you input that information, submit it off. They sign from the carrier side, and you're on your way. That would be the advisor side. As far as the user side, now this is, and we talked about it a little bit before. Now this is that hybrid model where we are really allowed, and I think, and this is just like my future vision of the industry. I think this is how brokers are going to stay relevant moving forward. We have big players. We have Policy Me, Policy Advisor, Emma, Go Walnut. There's huge insurance shops down in the United States that are doing these digital things. Carriers for years and years and years have been trying to find a way to go to direct to consumer and cut us out of the market. And I think that the way that we're going to stay relevant in the future is to have some type of hybrid approach where we do have these digital tools that will help us bring clients in and provide a better experience to the client while also being that face that, hey, I'm your insurance advisor. I'm the one that's helping you and explaining things to you. And if shit goes wrong, I'm the guy you can talk to. And I think that's how we're going to move forward as the insurance industry and as insurance brokers as we move forward into this AI, automations, online, etc. environment.
And for every financial professional and anyone that hears the podcast, that sees any of the shorts, that knows the core of my mission in finance, you explained it very well. I mean, the human's always going to have their spot. They're going to be put to a higher best use. The collaborative and holistic, having that person that you can trust. I'm currently an orphan in insurance. That's a whole separate thing that needs to be dealt with and addressed. But there's lots of ways to do it, and thankfully, there's a lot of great people working hard in the industry to make it better. I do want to kind of finish off, Phil, by letting people know all of the different places they can reach you. I want to thank you because you are a very important person in our market. I've watched your journey for a long time closely. I pay a lot of attention to all of the financial professionals in North America, very much so in Canada. And you're one of the people that I admire the most. That's why I've chased you to get on the podcast uh, and uh, and just keep doing what you're doing on the client side. Before you plug kind of where professionals and clients can reach you, what is the policy stream going to do on the client side? And why should people check out the site and where can they find it?
So, when you say client, are you referring to like someone like a broker, or you're referring to the end
On a
user
B2C.
of the end user, like a client, like someone who's
Yeah, because
looking
we're going to have a
for?
short that the clients are going to see on Instagram. So, what are you going to say to the clients to say, come check out this website?
So, so that's a good question. So,
You
no.
have your own, sorry, for affinities. So you've
Oh,
got the
okay.
policy stream for advisors.
Got-
Policy stream isn't for the end user, but you're using policy stream in your practice and any advisor that's
Gotcha.
smart enough to be using policy stream. So for the clients that will have an advisor using policy stream or that can go to your website, where can they find your website to have that policy stream experience that's going to give them the non-scary, in front of a sales boogeyman experience?
Gotcha. Okay, so my brokerage is Affinity Life. So affinitylife.ca, AFFINITY life.ca. That's the brokerage. Yeah, and then the broker side, the software company is policystream.ca. But what can they experience? I mean, they can experience a system where they can, no strings attached. They can start an application. They can do a needs analysis. They can look at quotes from different carriers across Canada. They can compare a term 10, a term 20, a term 30, different face amounts, see which one works best for them, start that application process and finish it and get started and get covered within, they can finish the application in about 5 to 10 minutes.
And I pity the fool that's not following you online on YouTube and LinkedIn, but why don't you tell us where you at on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube, and we'll put the links at the bottom.
All of those different things. There's quite a few different social medias and channels that I've been running here. So on the insurance side on YouTube, I have my YouTube channel, Affinity Life. That's where I post videos. This is typically client facing, term versus permanent. What's better, term 20 or term 30? How to determine how much life insurance you need, et cetera, et cetera. On LinkedIn, you can just find me at Philip Setter. On Instagram, if you're super interested in my climbing content, the channel there is called The Real Canadian Boys with a Z, and you can follow along. That's kind of my personal Instagram and climbing page, but I'm happy to have people check that out. And then in the future, I am going to be starting a new YouTube channel. And then I'm just going to call Philip Setter. And this is where I'm going to be sharing basically how I scaled my insurance brokerage from 0 apps online to 20 to 40 apps per month online, all using video content marketing and niche marketing with partnerships.
Need you to do us a big favor, Philip, not just for those that need to make sure that they actually get some term insurance in place, but for those of us that are sentimental folks, dodge those rocks. Don't die. Never, ever die. Can you do that for
Well,
me?
I'll try my hardest.
Appreciate you having you on, Philip. We'll be making sure to spread the word, tag lots of people on LinkedIn, and get people over to Policy Stream. And I look forward to having some further conversations myself.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sheldon.